Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from India, Anubha Doshi. Anubha, welcome to the show.
Namaste.
Anubha is the founder director of Artsphere and Soulsphere. She's also a psychologist. She's a mindfulness-based psychotherapist, facilitator, an expressive arts therapist, and a classical dancer and a Reiki practitioner. So, Anubha, before we talk about Artsphere and Soulsphere, tell me a little bit about your own journey in brief.
So, I think as a child, I was brought up in many states of India. I was born in Kolkata. My education was in Delhi. Then I got married in Rajasthan, and I'm in Pune, settled in Pune now. So I feel like I carry India with me, right? Like if someone asks me where are you from, I don't have an answer because I have something from here and something from there, and I feel like the best of the east, west, south, north of India. And as a child, I think, completely inspired to keep doing something. So when I was 10 years old, around 10 years old, I was an avid reader. And at that time, this is 40 years back, there was one small bookshop, not even a bookshop, it was a gift shop, and there were some books in it. And every Sunday, my outing with my father was going to that gift shop and buying all the books possible. And I was an avid reader, and that shaped my world a lot, my worldview a lot. And I had this idea of running a library. And because it just happened that I had the maximum books in my colony or society. And I just started running the library at a tender age of 10 years. And I was like really entrepreneurial and wanted to work from childhood. So then I started running that library, and then I started collecting money. And I told my dad one day that, what do I do with this money? I've actually got money, right? And should I buy more books? And he told me, no, I'll buy you the books. We'll take this money and contribute to a blind school nearby. There was a blind school nearby. Even now they have a blind school FET and all. And we'll sponsor the education of some children with that money, so that it goes to a good cause. So I think that was the background for me to understand that you don't live just for yourself. And there's something about serving the society and giving back. So since then, whatever I have done has had an element of service back to the country and giving back. And that is what has shaped my worldview and my value.
Fascinating. So now let's talk about Artsphere and Soulsphere. Tell me more about both these entities and how the idea for this unique arts and healing center came about.
So when my teacher came to India, the pioneer of dance therapy, Tripura, many years back, she went and studied in the US something called dance therapy, where you combine psychology and dance. There was nothing of this nature in India. And she kind of pioneered and made the way for the arts and psychology to come together in the whole of India. And I joined her. And I started running her, kind of work. I started taking her work forward in Pune in a small way. So we used to organize these workshops in different parts of the city where people could come and see the beauty of how arts can be therapeutic and how psychology and arts could have such a deep impact in your healing process, right? And then I realized slowly, that there was just no space that, was bringing artists together. The space, accessibility was not there. There wasn't one place where we could organize such workshops. And I was from Delhi, and I had a rich cultural background of dance and music. And the part of Pune I live in, which is the famous Koregaon Park, is very cosmo, but didn't have so much classical art and culture and drama. And I said, okay, let me start a space. And then again, a lot of things we believe in when you want something shifts, right? Something in divinity helped. My father came forward. So this way, a lot of people came forward, and we managed to open this center, the center that you see. This is my office. And we managed to start a studio, a space 10 years back in heart of Pune, where we could offer good quality art and cultural experiences and performances.
Mhm.
And slowly that kind of started expanding over the years. And now we have 3 spaces and 1 terrace. So simultaneously in 3 studios, we hold classes, and there's a mental health counseling center called Soulsphere. So we have 2 verticals and 2 different spaces. So one is the performing arts vertical, where all the classes happen, all the performances happen. And one is the mental health vertical called the Soulsphere, where the counseling, therapy, and the courses happen.
Amazing.
So this is
So tell me a little bit more about how therapy, and performing arts are interconnected, which is why you've got both of them in one space.
Yeah. Very difficult to say that in brief. How much time do we have? So the inherent belief is that arts itself is transformative. And even when you go to watch a play, like from the Greek times, right? There was a catharsis that happens for human beings. Like you cry when the actors cry, right? There's a release of emotion.
Yeah.
When you watch something beautiful, like a performance, right? You're moved. So art itself has inherent transformative power. And when we combine it with psychotherapy, the knowledge and the theory of psychology, one can create an experience for your clients which is really powerful, beyond words, beyond talk therapy, beyond just simple counseling. And you create an experience in the space which really moves your clients, and it helps material from the unconscious to come to the conscious of the client in a safe way, where it has a very deep impact in the body. Goes beyond just words. Like art doesn't need words. So that's how therapy and arts come together. And we've seen the impact of the arts therapy as very, very powerful.
Fascinating.
And that's why it caught my interest as a dancer. And then I studied psychology, and I've been studying it now. Currently pursuing.
And then how, Anubha, do you bring in Buddhism or Buddhist philosophy into therapy and healing?
Yeah. So this is also quite a journey. So I realized when I was studying psychology that there was so much emphasis on the Western models. The psychology is like again from the Western world and the US, and we have some really great psychologists, Freud, Jung. But I felt there was something missing, like like the chapters on Indian psychology or philosophy in our book were missing. There was just no information in literature, and we are such a culturally rich country, right? We have all the philosophies, the Gita, the Gautam Buddha's words, and all which carry a lot of weight and power, right? But it's just not been channelized in a way that people can understand, the lay person can understand. So since many years, my teacher and I have been studying the Buddhist philosophy, Gita, Hindu philosophy, Indian psychology in a structured way. So I trained in Buddhist psychology, mindfulness, and currently also I'm studying the Buddhist texts. And so is my teacher, Tripura Kashyap. And COVID period actually gave us the time to really sit together and create movement sequences based in Buddhist philosophy. So we took some concepts from the Buddhist philosophies which are universal, like loving kindness, metta, compassion, joy, mudita, equanimity. And we took the meditative elements from the Buddhist philosophy, took the meditations, and we created movement sequences around those meditations and those concepts. And then we created an entire program, which we offer as a small course with the Mira College now, called the Therapeutic Value of Arts and Buddhist Philosophy, Buddhist Psychology. So we did this with a lot of students. So a lot of students have done this. We've also created a program in chakra healing. So we created Indian philosophical concepts and created movement sequences and brought them together. And we realized that it has a deep impact. And we've presented this work across the world in the American Dance Therapy Association, the Expressive Arts Association, and our work has been published in the CAET journal. So we've really taken this forward in the psychological community as being recognized as something that can be actually offered.
How amazing.
And exploring its potential.
How amazing. Thank you for sharing this. My next question, Anubha, is that, when people come and talk to you before they start join one of your programs, what are some misconceptions people might have about dance therapy? And how do you address them?
Yeah. The first is that I'm going to teach them dance, that they have to copy, like how that's the traditional concept, right? And they think that I'm going to teach them dance and they have to copy. And the second is, but I'm not a dancer. But I have two left feet, right? And the beauty of art therapy and dance therapy is that we don't teach them anything. It's about exploring their own movement potential, which we all have as even as children, right? We have a natural movement. So it's exploring your own movement vocabulary. So nobody is teaching anyone. They're general experiences designed for everybody. It could be as simple as coming up with a gesture for your own name, or what does your name mean, or coming up with movements that that resonate with your name. So it could be as simple. That's the first thing that we do, right? So we start exploring with your name through movement. So we just use the gestures, we use the language of gestures. We also do borrow from the dances. We also borrow from contemporary dance. Classical dance, we use a lot of mudras. We make stories with the Indian classical gestures. So things which are really simple and can help you explore your creativity and help you express better.
Fascinating.
So these are the two myths that get busted first.
Fascinating. My next question is that what are some of the key principles of positive psychology that you incorporate into your workshops and your sessions?
Yeah, so as I was studying and I was on the journey of mindfulness, Buddhist psychology, I came across, we are taught the field of positive psychology, but I came across this beautiful intersection of positive psychology and Buddhist psychology and neuroscience. So there's a lot of surprisingly happening, a lot of work happening in the world around this. And we are actually late to wake up to the potential of mindfulness and its benefits. So there was an intersection of mindfulness practices and positive psychology in your well-being. Traditionally, psychology is known as a study. Clinical psychology is the study of diseases, mental health, illnesses. But positive psychology and Martin Seligman's work talks about what about human potential, flourishing? What about well-being, gratitude, compassion, and the qualities that uplift your soul, uplift your spirit? And I realized that our Indian philosophy has many elements like this, right? Talking about self-actualization, meeting, getting nirvana. So positive psychology is the field which helps you go there. So I found that really, going really well with the work I was doing. And I love designing these workshop experiences, and I work with corporates, with students, with people who come to the center in terms of how can we flourish, how can we lead a better life, how can we bring these qualities in our life, compassion, service, gratitude, and give back to society. What does it do? What does generosity do? Why are people generous? Why does our well-being increase when we give? So we found out, and the more I was going deeper in the study, that neuroscience talks about the helper's high. So altruism and philanthropy actually increase the well-being in your brain. So your well-being goes up rather than otherwise. Human beings are constantly just thinking about themselves and they're drowning in their own problems. But the minute you focus outside and start helping others and have a higher ideal, which even Gita talks about, that pitch for a higher ideal and you'll never feel sad again.
Right.
The Dalai Lama talks about if you learn to be happy for another person, which is altruistic joy or mudita, you'll never be unhappy because somewhere someone is happy in the world. So I started focusing on the intersection of these fields and what it does to your well-being. How to increase your well-being.
Fascinating. Let's now talk about mindfulness, because that's another area that you do work on. How can our viewers and listeners incorporate mindfulness practices into their daily lives for improving their well-being?
Yeah. So mindfulness has become a big subject now. Like the schools which are making mindfulness compulsory. The US offers apps of mindfulness for free, and India is waking up to mindfulness too. Mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment in a loving, affectionate way.
Correct.
So being completely one with the moment and being just here and not in the past or in the future for increased well-being. So it's said, neuroscience talks about the benefits of mindfulness, and we just like very simply, like starting from your morning coffee or tea, just sipping your morning coffee or tea slowly, like really being with it, feeling the taste, feeling the warmth, the aroma, smelling. So just starting from there. And then we do a mindfulness walk. So you go in nature, so you're getting the benefits of nature walk and mindfulness. So walking mindfully, pausing, doing a check-in, body scan. These are the things that you can bring mindfulness in your daily life. So pausing, bringing mindfulness, even if you're folding your sheets. So doing it everything very slowly, opening up all your senses, um, really breathing in, connecting to your breath. So basically, really slowing down, pausing, reflecting, and breathing. So very simple ways that you can bring mindfulness in your daily life.
Amazing. My next question, Anubha, is that what role do cultural and artistic traditions play in your therapeutic approach?
Cultural and artistic tradition. So I'm an expressive arts therapist. So I bring in all the arts and arts in a way that the layman can relate to it. So it doesn't have to be any form of art. But yes, there's a lot of talk happening about decolonization of therapy and making it very local and central and relevant to India. So we are also trying to bring in Indian traditions, right? Like how we've introduced Buddhism, chakra, bringing in India, and even in the artistic things, people are bringing in the folk dance of India, Rangoli in visual art, henna, mehendi. So these are the ways that we are amalgamating and decolonizing therapy and making and owning therapy and making it relevant to the Indian context where we are staying.
So, Anubha, my next question is that what advice would you give to parents seeking to foster resilience in their children?
Yeah. So I think that's a really relevant question in today's times. And I've been working with a lot of parents and parenting coaching in this space. And I'm also writing a book in which there are 9 mothers who come together with their own stories, like sharing their own stories about how, how they navigated motherhood, right? Because it's not the same anymore. It doesn't look like how it looked for our mothers. I think what's really important is building emotional intelligence in children rather than focusing only on rational intelligence, right? So the 3 kinds of intelligence, and the problem with our society is that we just focused on the academic or the rational intelligence, while the emotional and the spiritual intelligences are higher than the academic. And each child is born with something, right? That's what positive psychology talks about. That work on the strengths of the child and don't focus on the weaknesses. What happens to parents is that the report card comes and the child may have done well in 4 subjects in lesson 2. Their entire focus goes on, okay, you didn't perform well, and you just start going and jumping on those 2 subjects, and you forget that there are 4 subjects that the child has done well. And let's focus, build on that. So positive psychology talks about strength focus building. So you focus on the strength of the child and not on the weaknesses. You can work on that if you want, but don't make that the focus, and appreciate the child. And that's how you're going to build the child's intelligence, and also focus on building the emotional and the spiritual quotient rather than just the IQ, right? The whole focus is IQ, right? Because you think that's what is needed for success. But that's not that anymore. The holistic model of health and developing childhood strengths is IQ, EQ, and SQ makes a complete package.
Correct.
And if you develop emotional intelligence, automatically the child will learn. Resilience is what? Being able to overcome in adverse situations, right? The ability to bounce back in adverse circumstances. How does one build that? Our school is focused on teaching the subject. Nobody talks about how to deal with failure. What do you do if you have a heartbreak? What do you do if you fight with your friends? How do you navigate conflicts? Nobody talks about these important life skills. And that's why psychology, mindfulness, and positive psychology play a good role.
Very well said. So I have time for 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
My next question is that what are your thoughts on the intersection of creativity and mental health? And why I'm asking you this is because mental health is now a very important subject that is being openly talked about in a lot of communities in our country.
Yeah, thank God for that, right?
Absolutely.
We needed to talk about
It's
mental
time,
health.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think I'm right in the middle of it, right? As an expressive arts therapist, that's what I do. I bring in the creative arts, poetry, dance, music, movement, art, writing to enhance and garner the potential of the arts for the transformation and helping human beings reach their highest potential. That's exactly what I do. Because sometimes I feel sometimes people are not able to really express what they're feeling. But art becomes the third or the container for them to be able to express their true feelings. And that helps feelings from the unconscious to come into the consciousness of the client themselves. And they're able to see it themselves, right? And that's when transformation or healing really happens. When the client can see it for themselves rather than me telling. So our job is not to tell, advise, guide. We are not their teachers. We are facilitators. We just facilitate the process of healing. But the healing is done by the client on their own.
Very interesting.
And art becomes a container or like the third in the room we call the art to help facilitate this.
Amazing. And my last question to you, Anubha, and given all the amazing work you're doing, what are your future goals and aspirations for Artsphere and Soulsphere?
I think to spread awareness of mental health and the creative arts. And then mental health is for everyone. Therapy is not only for people like we call them, are you crazy that you're going for therapy? And also to take it to populations which are not able to afford good quality mental health right now. So to also be able to offer mindfulness programs in communities, in places where mental health is yet to be recognized. So as a center, our vision is to provide good quality mental health care to people who are coming here and to take it to communities and foster art engagement along with mental health to keep offering art experiences to people who may not be coming to therapy, but art as therapeutic. So offering more art as therapeutic performances, more articles, more podcasts, just taking it out there, really taking this out there, making it accessible and making it affordable. I think that's what we've been trying to do.
And do you see it going beyond the shores of India?
Oh, we are already beyond the shores.
Oh, you are?
We are
okay.
already, physically, yes, physically we are in Pune. But because of COVID, actually, that was a boom. First, we thought that we are limited by our physical space, but actually COVID opened up this horizons. And that's what I said, that we've been presenting the Buddhist and the Chakra work in all the countries' conferences, right? So we're taking it out, much, much out over there.
Fantastic. And on that note, Anubha, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me. I mean, I think I learned so many new things from you about Artsphere and Soulsphere, about the connection between how healing, and there are so many different aspects of the arts that we can associate ourselves with to be able to manage our own well-being, our own stresses, and so many other challenges that we face in our lives. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.